जय जय गिरिधर श्याम मनोहर जय जय गिरिधर भजोरे साई गोपाला भजोरे साई गोपाला हरि 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 बोल राम 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 हरे राम बोल हरि 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 बोल राम राम हरे राम साई राम बोल जय जय गिरिधर हरिहर हरिहर जय जय गिरिधर बाला भजोरे साई गोपाला भजोरे साई गोपाला जय जय गिरिधर श्याम मनोहर जय जय गिरिधर श्याम मनोहर जय जय गिरिधर बाला भजोरे साई गोपाला हरि 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 बोल राम राम हरे राम साई राम बोल जय जय गिरिधर हरिहर हरिहर जय जय गिरिधर बाला भजोरे साई गोपाला हरि 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 बोल राम राम हरे राम साई राम बोल Glory to you, O Lord Krishna, the dark complexioned, ever enchanting, the one who held the Govardhan mountain on your fingers to protect the villages from the torrential rain caused by Indra. Chant the name of Krishna, chant the name of Rama, chant the name of Hari, who incarnated as Shri Krishna. Giridhara, in the previous avatar as Lord Rama, Govardhan mountain was given a promise that he will be used by God in the next avatar. The mountain was being carried for making the bridge to Lanka. When Lord reached that, when the word reached that no more stones are required, Govardhan Parvat cried that it failed to serve the Lord. His devotion moved the heart of God and he promised that he will be used in the next avatar. Sri Krishna, who realized that Indira was a power monger, argued that instead of worshipping Indra, the village should worship Govardhana, as he was the one who was protecting the villages from natural calamities. and also blocked the clouds and thus brought rain. This infuriated Indra, who brought torrential rain in Vraj region. Krishna asked all villagers to take refuge at Govardhana. On approaching the mountain, Sri Krishna lifted it with his little finger and gave refuge to all living beings in Vraj under the mountain. This holy act earned Sri Krishna the name Giridhara. Indira was humbled and people stopped worshipping Indira from that day. This holy act symbolically extols humans to not to surrender before calamities. Though nature takes a furious form of destruction, but God has provided us means to protect ourselves and rebuild our lives. Swami Krishnananda writes, the one alone, which is all this manifold, revealed as twofold inseparables, announced the strange togetherness of form, which undivided on one side abides, and vast creation on the other stands. The unseen and seen are just the one. The that which is all this appearance. Narayana and Nara, immortals, the great resources attained, whose radiance overshadows all the gods, whose lustre fills this world with vibrant life and reaches in all realms beyond the earth, who glow as fire invincible yet calm, as sun who shine, as wind or lofty strong, dazzling as flame and beautiful as moon, as Krishna and Arjuna came on earth, as fullness grown of Vishnu's encompass, glory which has no boundaries or walls. Going further, he says, the full when all this world of things projects is still the full with no diminution, and that which comes is also full ablaze. Sri Krishna came as full eternity, which walked the streets of temporality. The Krishna Avatar has been described in various ways. As a sport of the divine in human form, as an ideal for the world, as a sacred ruler, as manifestation of the Parabrahma Tattva. The divine comes as avatar to proclaim the pure and unsullied love of devotees towards God. People may consider that the avatar's activities include punishment of the wicked, protection of the good, weeding out of unrighteousness, and restoration of righteousness. This is how they may look at the avatar's doings. But this is not the way the Lord sees things. There is nothing bad in God's view. The purpose of the divine principle's descent is to accept and shower love. There is no joy without love. That is why the Gopikas sang, Krishna, play a song on your flute once, so that in the barren, love-bereft fields, the seeds of love are sown, watered with the showers of love and the spring of love may flow. Let us look at different manifold aspects of Krishna. We start with Krishna the Warrior. Lord Krishna was matchless in physical strength. He was an undaunted warrior even from his 12th year. Kamsa sent an elephant named Kuvalayapida to kill Krishna. Krishna killed the elephant and entered the arena. Krishna got upon the platform on which Kamsa was seated, got hold of his head, threw him down on the ground and killed him. Jarasandha, son-in-law of Kamsa, was very much enraged when Krishna killed Kamsa. He invaded Mathura 17 times. Krishna drove out Jarasandha every time. The wicked Shishupala challenged Krishna in Yudhishthira's Rajasuya Yajna. Shri Krishna threw his chakra at Shishupala and cut off his head. Krishna as a great statesman. The world has not witnessed a greater statesman than Shri Krishna. He was a champion of liberty and a peacemaker. He had a wonderful foresight and held extremely liberal views. He was appointed as the peacemaker to stop the civil war that was to be fought between the Kauravas and the Pandavas. The thrilling and soul-stirring speech delivered by Sri Krishna before the court of Dhritarashtra proves that he was the greatest statesman. He said to Duryodhana, "O Prince of Bharata race, make peace with the wise, brave and righteous Pandavas. Peace alone brings happiness to friends, relations and the whole world. He who does not act according to the wise instructions of his friends meets with destruction and sorrow." The Lord of Yogis, when he was a child, he did countless miracles. He showed Vishwarupa Darshan, universal form, to his mother Yashoda in his mouth while he yawned. He uprooted the Yamala Arjuna trees. He danced on the Kaliya serpent. He raised the Govardhana hills on his little finger to protect Gokul. He multiplied himself into various forms. When Brahma kept the gopas and the calves away from Krishna's view, he multiplied himself and appeared in countless forms in Rasalila. It is only a Yogishvara who can perform these great miracles. Shri Krishna is the only incarnation of Vishnu called Yoga Avatara, or the avatar of Yoga. Yogeshwara, or the Lord of Yoga. To understand yoga, one must understand Sri Krishna, his life, teachings and the Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, one has only touched the surface of the profound yogic science of consciousness. The Gita is the essence of the Upanishads, which in turn are the essence of the Vedas. As such, the Gita is the key teaching of the Vedic Sanatana Dharma. It remains the most accessible Vedic text both in language and context. Sri Krishna is the ultimate yoga guru, and as the master of all yoga branches and the great teacher of Vedic knowledge at all levels. Sri Krishna's all-encompassing yoga. In the process of teaching Arjuna, Sri Krishna explains the whole of yoga at an integral level. He teaches Jnana Yoga and Vedanta, the yoga of knowledge, as the realization of the Atman or Supreme Self beyond all name and form. He explains the Bhakti Yoga or yoga of action as surrender to Him as the divine ruler, Ishvara within the heart. He emphasizes Karma Yoga as the path of action following one's dharma in life, with all we do as an offering to the divine within. Krishna in the Gita addresses all aspects of yoga with an emphasis on jnana and bhakti, not on specific techniques. He mentions asana, but only as a seated posture for meditation, jnana. Besides the formal yoga teachings, Krishna explains the three gunas of sattva, rajas, and tamas in great detail and provides many keys for controlling the mind, mastering emotions, working with and transcending karma. As such, the Gita teaches us how to manage our lives on all levels, including how to act in the most challenging circumstances. If we examine the life of Krishna, we see that he was able to manifest the highest awareness during all phases of life and all levels of action, including his role on the world stage as a king and diplomat. As an embodiment of love and mercy, Lord Krishna is styled as the one who steals the butter, because he used to eat the butter steadily in the houses of the gopis on account of his extreme love for them. This stealing of butter was a sort of sport or leela when he was a boy, to instill delight in the hearts of the gopis who were his devotees. The gopis liked this immensely. They were eagerly expecting Krishna to come and eat the butter at their homes. Krishna really steals or captivates the hearts of his devotees, Chittachora, makes them forget the world, draws their mind towards his blessed feet, and makes them enjoy everlasting peace and bliss. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu describes various qualities of Lord Krishna to Sanatana Goswami in Sri Chaitanya Chaitamrita. There are few verses. He is not naming the verses. Let us see the qualities described by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna, the supreme hero, has the most beautiful transcendental body. This body possesses all good features. It is radiant and very pleasing to the eyes. Mohana Murata. His body is powerful, strong, and youthful. Krishna is the linguist of all wonderful languages. He is truthful and a very pleasing speaker. He is expert in speaking, and he is very wise, a learned scholar and a genius. Krishna is very expert in artistic enjoyment. He knows how to deal according to time, person, and country, desha, kala, and he sees through the scriptures and authoritative books. He is very clean and self-controlled. Lord Krishna is steady. His senses are controlled and he is forgiving, grave, and calm. He is also equal to all. Krishna is very simple and liberal. He is humble. He is the protector of the surrendered souls. He is very happy and he is always the well-wisher of his devotees. He is all auspicious and he is submissive to love. Krishna is very influential and famous. He is the object of attachment for everyone. He is the shelter of the good and the virtuous. He is attractive to everyone. He is worshipped by everyone. Krishna is the supreme and he is always glorified as the supreme Lord. Thus, all the previously mentioned transcendental qualities are in him. These qualities are sometimes very minutely exhibited in living beings, sometimes, but they are fully manifested in the Supreme Personality of Godhood, worshipped as Sri Krishna. There are few more qualities which are not present in other incarnations or in demigods. The Lord is always situated in his original position. He is omniscient. He is always fresh and youthful. He is the concentrated form of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. He is the possessor of all mystic perfection. 5 more qualities are described, which are present in Narayana and his incarnation Sri Krishna only. The Lord possesses inconceivable supreme power. He generates innumerable universe from his body. Virata, Vishwarupa. He is the original source of all incarnations. He bestows salvation upon even enemies whom he kills. And he has the ability to attract exalted persons who are satisfied in themselves. Even above Narayana, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Krishna has these transcendental qualities. His wonderful pastimes and abundance of wonderful associates who are very dear to him, like the gopis. His wonderful beauty and the wonderful vibration of his flute, all transcendental. Now coming to the Lord's teachings. Sri Krishna was the friend of Arjuna and Uddhava. His immortal teachings to Arjuna and Uddhava on yoga, bhakti, and jnana are unique. They even now stir the hearts of the readers and goad them towards the spiritual path and instill peace into their hearts. The teachings given by Lord Krishna to Uddhava on the eve of his departure from the world are wonderful. He gives instructions on a variety of subjects, but the one ringing note is, see me in everything. Surrender yourself to me. Do all actions for my sake. Cut off all sorts of attachments. Have perfect, unswearing devotion to me. Unswerving devotion to me. Sing my glories. Coming to Arjuna, Arjuna had various kinds of doubts. Lord Krishna cleared doubts one by one. He pushed Arjuna up in the ladder of yoga from one rung to another rung. Ultimately, Arjuna placed his step in the highest rung of the ladder, attained knowledge of the self, and then exclaimed in joy, "Oh, my Lord, my delusion is destroyed. I have attained knowledge through thy grace. I am firm now. My doubts have vanished now in toto. I will act according to thy word." Narayana and Nara are supposed to have taken form as Sri Krishna and Arjuna. They were inseparable, working together, living together, one being in two bodies. The association of Sri Krishna with Arjuna, so inseparable, is an illustration of the inseparable relation between God and the man, Bhagavan and the Jiva. This truth is brought into high relief, especially in the towards the last verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno, Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara, Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutir, Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama, says Sanjaya. Where Sri Krishna, the Lord of Yoga, is, and Arjuna, the wielder of the bow, is Dhanurdhara, simultaneously seated on one chariot, their perfection reigns supreme. Success is at hand, all glory is there at once, and there is perfect righteousness. Nitir Matir Mama. Divine grace and human effort go together. Knowledge and action are in the state of a perfect blend. The absolute and the relative are not two different entities. They are in one chariot. The chariot in which Sri Krishna and Arjuna are seated may be the historical chariot that moved on the field of the Mahabharata, or it may be symbolic for Ishvara and Jiva, God and man who are working together in the human heart. Or this chariot can be the whole universe, and it could be the absolute enacting the drama of the relativity of manifestation. The inseparability of Sri Krishna and Arjuna as friends, as has been told again and again in the Mahabharata, is an illustration of the point of the inseparability between God and man, the creator and his creation. It is to demonstrate the truth of the universality of God's perfection and the ideal inclusiveness of everything that this incarnation shone on earth. Sri Krishna asked man to consider himself a doll in the hands of God and surrender to God. He asked man to act on the faith and belief that whatever he does is the work of God. He asked man to act, but act only with devotion to God, without desire for fruits. Krishna, we have seen, was the greatest king, greatest warrior, greatest statesman, was the essence of prema, embodiment of love and compassion, protector of those who surrendered to him. He was everything at its perfection when it comes to our imagination on how a human form can be at most perfect level. All these things are accepted, but above all, he is the Lord who was always far beyond. He remained far beyond all these qualities, all these attributes, all the mission, etc. Jivas are drowned in samsara. Even a Jivan Mukta goes through various births, start from life drowned in samsara, and then evolves ultimately to transcend samsara and stands liberated. Whereas Avatar, Shri Krishna and other incarnations are indeed birthless and deathless if they are realized as essence, tattva. And they may sometimes be fully into action, like Krishna was ever into action from the beginning, from the childhood in the Kurukshetra till he chose to leave the creation. However, they always exist far beyond all their actions. That is why he is Yogeshwara. The more one moves towards God, the more also one moves away from the world. The securities of life, which are materially construed, are not necessarily the ways in which God thinks what is right. There seems to be some other way altogether in which he can consider the welfare of the people. As long as we are in samsara, we are gripped with unlimited desires and wants, and we want the God to satisfy all our wants and desires. Here it is said, the more one moves towards God, the more one moves away from the world. The more you attach to detach, he wrote in a blog post. The more you are drawn towards God and immersed in God, in your single pointed devotion, your wants start getting reduced drastically. That is God's way to attract you unto him and to detach yourself from the world. Mysterious are the ways of the Lord. God is truth, pure reality, and therefore whatever the world has, we can have in God also. Yet God is more than the world, and perhaps if you really seek merger with the Lord, you will realize that the God is not the world at all. Now, let us immerse in few Gospels of Swami about Sri Krishna and end this talk. The Samarpan Bhajan talks may not be like before, they will all be brief, so that you are able to focus fully and then take the bliss out of this discourses. About inaction in action, Krishna declared, these are all Swami's words. There is nothing I need in this world for which I must strive. Nevertheless, I am continuously engaged in action because if I, who am to stand out as an example to the world, do not perform actions, the people of the world will renounce activities. He is far beyond the actions, but when you see him in the Kurukshetra, when you see him rushing towards Bhishma with chakra in his hands, saying to Arjuna that you will never be able to put an end to Bhishma, and he will end the Pandava Sena if you are not getting into action. Now I am breaking my words that I will not engage in war in the water. And when he rushes towards Bhishma, shining forth, who can say that he is all above actions? But he in essence, and even Jivan Muktas are in essence, they may be engaged fully in action, but the actions do not touch them at all. He gave 3 dimensions of Sai and Jivan Mukta, the essence of a Jivan Mukta. He said the similarities between both, the oneness between the both, and the dissimilarities between the both, and at last he concluded, this was way back, maybe in the 2013, 14 or so, they ended saying that both do not do anything at all. Everything happens around them, and even their body, physically, it may be engaged in action, but both of them do not undertake any action at all. They are far above actions. Swami continues. For the Krishna Avatar, the Pandits have offered different interpretations from the name alone. The letters in the word Krishna, Ka, Ra, Sha, Na, and A, have been interpreted in signifying the glorious attributes of Krishna. Ka represents Kamala Akanta, the Lord of Krishna. Other meanings given to the letter Ka are Kamaleshwara, the Lord of the lotus, and the one from whose navel the lotus has issued. He is also known as Kamala Bandhavudu, the kinsman of the lotus. The inner significance of these interpretations is that when divinity manifests within us, the heart blooms like a lotus before the sun. Ka thus symbolizes the sun principle also. Ra represents the principle of delight. Ramyate iti Rama, we say, the Lord who delights. Ra represents the principle of delight. Sha represents Vishnu, the source of all wealth and prosperity. Shri. Sa. Sha. Na signifies the Narasimha Avatara, the combination of man and animal in an integral unity. A represents or reveals the Akshara Swarupa of the Lord. He is imperishable and eternal quality. Satya Sai speaks, volume 90. Then he goes on. We must understand properly the meaning. He continues. The word Krishna has 3 meanings. He further gets into the name for our sake. Sai Krishna is describing Sri Krishna, significance of Krishna's name. Three meanings. One is Krishyati iti Krishna. The one who cultivates is Krishna. What is it that has to be cultivated? The Hridaya Kshetra, field of the heart. Krishna cultivates the field of our hearts by removing the weeds of bad qualities, watering it with love, plowing it with the use of sadhana, and sowing the seeds of devotion. This is how Krishna cultivates our hearts. The second meaning of the word is Karshati iti Krishna. The one who attracts is Krishna. Krishna attracts you by his eyes, his speech, his words, and by every action or in every inaction of his. By his words, he softens and calms the hearts of even those filled with hatred and makes them rejoice. A third meaning of the word Krishna is Kushyati iti Krishna, one who is always blissful. Krishna was always in a state of bliss. It was because he had these various qualities. The sage Garga named him Krishna. The ordinary meaning of the word Krishna is the one who is dark, but people think only of this meaning and forget the deeper and truer meanings of the Lord's name. The essence of Krishna's life is he proclaimed the truth to the world, propagated the eternal varieties, and delighted the world by his Leelas. Krishna is the visualization of the Atman that the repetition of the name grants. The vision that was gained by Yashoda. You must foster that Krishna on your tongue, and he dances on it. The poison of the tongue will be ejected completely without harming anyone, as happened when he, as a child, danced on the hoots of the serpent Kalinga. So, what we have done when and if only we glide along with this talk on this bhajan, Jaya Jaya GIRIDHARA, SHYAMA MANOHARA, we have started with the enchanting form, and we have started with the supernatural qualities of Krishna as warrior, as statesman, as a ruler, and then as Prema Avatar. And we proceed further. And after aligning and mixing the beauty of the form and the beauty of the essence, both of them in the three interpretation of Krishna, as we go through the interpretation of this Krishna, we go back a little and try to fathom the depth of the significance of the companionship of Krishna and Arjuna, where it is clearly given that Krishna is the Paramatman and Arjuna is the Jivatman, and Atman being the same in both, the Jiva and the God are never separable. They are one. That is the take home lesson of today's satsang, where we have to develop the conviction and the faith that we, as Swami says, me Giridhara Gopala, we and he are one. In what way? Not in form. The essence is one. And to hammer this truth, he says, towards the end, the Swami says, he teaches us the principle of Atman. Krishna is the manifestation of Atman when it comes to jivas. Glide along the path of bhakti and serve, also serving as karma and bhakti are to a very great extent they are linked and united. Offer your actions as worship of God. And keep doing actions, engage in incessant devotion. You will never even know when the time comes in your life, the D-Day or the allocated or the most glorious phase in your life comes when, in your exalted devotion, you merge with the God. Prema Sagara. Where the Bhakta and Krishna merge into the last interpretation which Swami gave, Kushyati iti Krishna. What remains is bliss, bliss, bliss. And ultimately, the bliss, only possible description of that state, transcendental state, remains where there is no one to say that I am in bliss. The Bhakta merged into Sri Krishna is all bliss, but he is not separate from the bliss. The bliss is no more an object of experience where he says, I am in bliss. He is bliss. Paramananda. Jai Shri Krishna. Jai Sai Ram.